something lurks beneath Antarctica, scientists have begun to detect radio signals coming from beneath Antarctica's ice. Holy what? Dude, let's begin to speculate on conspiracy theories. I'm going to go with advanced ancient civilization buried when the poles flipped and Antarctica, which used to be at the equator and was not covered in ice, shifted south. A giant flood happened. Whole thing froze over with like a mile of ice, and deep buried beneath Antarctica is an advanced frozen civilization where their radio signals are still emitting. Yeah, or probably not. I don't know. It's just fun to think about. Here's the story. Scientists are baffled by mysterious radio signals coming from beneath Antarctica's ice. The strange radio pulses were detected by the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, an array of instruments designed to detect elusive particles called neutrinos. Say what? Rather than detecting these cosmic particles, the researchers were baffled to find signals emerging from the ice at seemingly impossible angles. Now, hold on. What do you mean by signals? Because signal usually implies codified pulses of some sort, right? If they said, we're detecting waves or particles, that's just a thing. But signals implies it's coming in some kind of pattern. Maybe I'm wrong. They say, worryingly, they have no idea what could be causing them. In a paper published by Physical Review Letters, an international team of researchers explained that these findings cannot be explained by the current understanding of particle physics. This might mean there are entirely new forms of particles and interactions at play, or that these unusual signals are the product of mysterious dark matter. I'm sick of it. You're just saying dark matter now whenever you have no idea what's going on. Dr. Stephanie Wissel, an astrophysicist from the Pennsylvania State University who worked on the ANITA team, says the radio waves that we detected were at really steep angles, like 30 degrees below the surface of the ice. It's an interesting problem because we still don't actually have an explanation for what these anomalies are. I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Ancient civilization buried in the ice. Deep below, everybody's dead, but the technology persists. That'd be fun, right? Or would that be scary? Would it be really terrifying if, like, tomorrow on the news, they were like, we drilled down about a mile and we hit metal, and then we found a building and strange runes in an ancient language and computers. The ANITA experiment was designed to hunt for an elusive type of particle called a neutrino, the smallest of all subatomic particles. Neutrinos are typically created by high-energy events like the Big Bang or a supernova and are extremely common. However, since they are so small and don't have a charge, they don't affect the objects they pass through, which makes them extremely difficult to spot. Dr. Wissel says you have 1 billion neutrinos passing through your thumbnail at any moment. Really? But neutrinos don't interact. That's why they're called neutrinos. So this is the double-edged sword problem. If we detect them, it means they have traveled all this way without interacting with anything else, which could be detecting a neutrino coming from the edge of the observable universe. Like opening a time capsule from the distant past, examining the signal from a neutrino could reveal more information about the cosmos than data from the world's most powerful telescopes. To try and find them, the ANITA experiment uses balloons floating 18 to 24 miles above the Antarctic, where other signals are rare, to look for radio waves caused by neutrinos hitting the ice. So they do interact? We point our antennas down at the ice and look for neutrinos that interact in the ice, producing radio emissions that we can then sense on our detectors, said Dr. Wissel. Look at this. This is crazy. Signals the ANITA, they're calling it ANITA array. Look at that. Big balloons. Just as a ball thrown to the ground will always bounce at a particular angle, scientists can use the trajectory of these signals to track the neutrino back to its origin. However, the scientists were shocked to discover a set of signals which could not be traced back to any possible origin. These radio signals were coming from the ice at an impossibly steep angle, something that a neutrino-produced signal could never do. Even stranger, rather than bouncing off the ice, the pulses appear to be coming from below the horizon, deep underground. That would mean the radio waves would have had to travel thousands of miles of rock through thousands of miles of rock and ice before reaching Anita's balloons, which should have rendered them undetectable. After analyzing the data from multiple flights and comparing it to simulations of cosmic rays, the researchers were able to filter out background noise. However, after eliminating the possibility of any other known particle-based signals, the anomalous radio pulses remained stubbornly unexplained. Additionally, other detectors, the Ice Cube experiment and the Pierre Auger Observatory, didn't detect anything that could explain what the scientists were seeing. Now, hold on. If a neutrino doesn't interact, how is it bouncing? You're going to have to tell me this one. I'm confused. They say, according to scientists' current understanding of how particles interact, these signals shouldn't be possible. This has led scientists to speculate that they may have stumbled onto a type of particle interaction previously unknown to science. Dr. Whistle says, my guess is that some interesting radio propagation effect occurs near ice and also near the horizon that I don't fully understand. But we certainly explored several of those, and we haven't been able to find any of those yet either. So right now, it's one of these long-standing mysteries. I'm going to go ahead and say aliens, ancient civilization. Let's go. They found Atlantis. Whatever is the most fun conspiracy theory or whatever you want to call it. To learn more, scientists are currently building an even bigger detector dubbed PUYO, which will be better at spotting hidden particles. That could help scientists understand the origins of these baffling signals from beneath the ice. Dr. Whistle concludes, I'm excited that when we fly PUYO, I guess is how you say it, we'll have better sensitivity. In principle, we should pick up more anomalies, and maybe we'll actually understand what they are. So what is this? They say the standard model of physics describes the fundamental structure of matter in the universe. Okay. So they say everything in the universe is found to be made from a few basic building blocks called fundamental particles governed by 4 fundamental forces. Our best understanding of those particles and 3 of the forces are related to each other is encapsulated in the standard model of particle physics. I think most people know this, but we'll read a little bit of it. Well, actually, most people who've studied the science, I guess. These particles occur in 2 basic types called quarks and leptons. Each consists of 6 particles, which are related to pairs or generations. All stable matter in the universe is made from particles that belong to the first generation. Any heavier particles quickly decay to the next most stable level. There are also 4 fundamental forces at work in the universe: strong force, weak force, electromagnetic, and the gravitational force. They work over different ranges and have different strengths. Gravity is the weakest, but it has an infinite range. Very interesting. The electromagnetic force also has infinite range, but it is many times stronger than gravity. The weak and strong forces are effectively only over very short range and down it only at the level of subatomic particles. The standard model includes the electromagnetic strong and weak forces and all their carrier particles and explains well how these forces act on all of the matter particles. However, the most familiar force in our everyday lives, gravity, is not part of the standard model. And fitting gravity comfortably into this framework has proved to be a difficult challenge. Indeed. Man, the code of the universe, it's a very weird thing, I suppose. Gravity, an effect of space-time, and we are compressed and trying to move towards some kind of spatial dimensional vacuum. I don't know. Don't look at me. The universe is a very interesting thing. The bigger question I have is, what's up with these radio signals under the ice? I'm curious what you guys think it is. Could be nothing. It could be that they built a stupid object that doesn't detect things properly. That's it. And they're like, wow, we're getting these weird signals. And it's like, yeah, you could just be using a broken machine. You know, maybe they're going to come back and say, how dare you, our machine's not broken. The Adam and Eve theory is that every 6,500 years, the Earth shifts and the equator moves. So that means Antarctica was once in a warm climate. And some say that's why there's glaciers in warm climates, like in Indonesia, because the giant blocks of ice used to be in the South Pole, and it takes a very, very, very long time to melt. Or it could be that places like Antarctica once were an archipelago in near the equator, and when the Earth shifted, it went to the south, the flooding happened, and all of that water that sweeps across the land, much of it starts to freeze and coats the land in a giant block of ice. So perhaps beneath the surface, my friends, of Antarctica lies hidden secrets of a lost civilization. It's fun to think about. If we found evidence, do you think the government would really share with us that there was a great civilization before ours called Atlantis or something else? I doubt they would, but I can assure you most governments would rush to try and find the secrets. I'm going to leave it there. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment.